Hello and welcome back. Thanks for your comments on my previous video. Today I'm not going to show you any item. I'm going to talk to you about something I read online and got me thinking for a few days, and I'd like to share it with you and see what your take is on this. I read that we people over 60 that have these vinyl collecting hobby are pushing youngest generation away from our hobby because of the way we approach it. So I've decided to give you my point of view about it. Five reasons I think this is so, and let's see what you have to say about this. Right? Uh, if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and becoming part of our hobby. Uh, Number one, this generation says the Stones, the Beatles, Steely Dan, Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin is not their music, that they belong to a different generation. So they needn't bother, right, to find out what the fuss is all about. Well, I think that's a mistake, and it is misconceived. I have never seen so many buskers in the streets and so many young people in the streets playing music as the way they do today. I've seen so many young boys and girls playing the violin, the piano, cello, etc., with such a degree of proficiency that absolutely amazes me. So I feel that music is here to stay, and even more than years ago, kids have more access to the music thanks to technology. They become more proficient, and I'm sure that many of them, if they're very well guided, if they're very well advised, they will surely consider this hobby. Uh, it is not their music regarding generation. Well, I can say that when the Beatles split up, I was six. When Steely Dan released Gone by a Thrill, I was eight. When Aqualung came out, I was seven. When Led Zeppelin 2 hit the stores, I was like six or seven. So it was not my music either. It was not my generation, right? I got acquainted with this music years on in my life, my late teens, by the late 70s. But I immediately got ensnared by these music. Such a vast variety of genres, from jazz to rock to pop to soundtracks to classical music. There's so many things you can enjoy just playing, that piece of vinyl on a turntable. And I think that we haven't changed that much. Technology has changed, but I think the human being hasn't. So one thing we've got to do is to try to make them see us. We usually call boomers, as you know, to see us not as a niche, right? Only for people over 50 or 60 with big houses and who have the money to buy expensive gear and expensive records. They can start by buying entry-level stuff and enjoy themselves. I mean, let's be honest. When we were teenagers, we didn't have this gear. We couldn't even dream of it, and we enjoy a hell of the albums, right? We played air guitar, and those were albums that absolutely lived a life with us. They've been with us for all these decades, and and they will be with us till the day we die. So playing the generation gap is not a reason, right? People like Mozart or Beethoven or Bach, and they're not from their generation. And I think it'd be an incredible loss, right? If bands like Beatles, Stones, Kinks, Steely Dan, Allman Brothers, Jethro Tull, those people get forgotten over the years. It'd be sad and terrible. So we should push them into our hobby. If it's not vinyl, well, a CD, but some kind of physical media that makes them into real contact with the artifact itself. Reason number two is, what they say, there's always one in every crowd. Uh, I'm retired now, but I was an English teacher, and I was a teacher for 35 years, teenagers between 16 and 18, and believe me, I know how teenagers are and think. And every single year in these 35 years, 36 years, every single year, I've had at least a couple of students who were curious about the 70s, who were curious about the 80s, who were hungry for more, right? Who asked me, "Do you know the lyrics to Money, Pink Floyd? Do you know the lyrics to Aqualung? Teacher, I've translated this and that. Could you check it for me?" And stuff like that. And when time went by and those guys were 25 and 30, I could see they bought turntables and that they had bought CDs and they're into this hobby. And it makes me very, very, very happy, right? Uh, Regarding gear, I mean, for let's say 1K, if they save some money, they can buy an Audio Technica LP, they can buy a Project, they can buy a Riga one, they can buy a Fluence, an Autophone Red stylus or a Nagalka MP110, a second-hand Denon amplifier, and a couple of vintage speakers in good condition. And I tell you, that's good enough to get going. That's good enough to start in this hobby. Trouble is that most of these guys live in small condos and small apartments, but there's always that room, that one room where you can place your gear and start listening. And if that's not possible, well, you can always turn to headphones, right, and listen to it on headphones, the way we used to when we were teenagers. Uh, Most importantly, is the records. No matter how good your gear is, the record will not sound good if it's not properly recorded, if it's not well mastered, if the record doesn't sound good. So we should try to convince them to stay away from cheap reissues. Right? Most of them coming from digital sources and that sound like crap. I know that these young people want them for the glossy covers and from the inserts, but okay, they won't buy a UK first pressing or a US first pressing, but we can tell them to buy later reissues, vintage reissues from the late 70s or the late 80s that they can certainly enjoy. And there'll be plenty of time to buy, first pressings or to buy boutique label reissues in the future. The important thing here is just try to make them uh, get the bug. You know what I mean? Once the bug is in you, once you got that feeling, once the music is in you, once you've got your small collections, you've got your bookshelves with your music and and with all your CDs and stuff, and becomes part of your life. That's tremendously important, and that's a hobby that you can carry along for years and years and be with you till the day you die. I understand why they think we're a niche because if you watch YouTube videos, most of the times it's people with very expensive gear, with very expensive records, and I'm sure that if I was 18, 20, 25 now, and I would just stay away from those videos, thinking, well, God, I'll never in my life will have the money to buy those records, to buy those speakers, etc. Right? So there should be channels. I love to see YouTube channels made by people in their 20s and 30s trying to push entry level gear into people their age, and trying to push, like we do in this channel, uh, later vintage reissues from the 70s and 80s that still sound very good, that you can get for, say, 20, 25, $30 or euros, and get you into the hobby. And as I say, once the bug's in you, it's very, very difficult to get away. So now, well, let me know what your take on this. Do you agree with me, or is there any way or anything that we can rely on to try to at least consider the possibility of viewing our hobby uh, way into the future once we're gone? Right. That's all for today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Take care.